Hi everyone, I'm Paige, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make this pencil skirt, which is the same one I'm wearing. It's McCall's 3830. I'm not really sure if this is actively in print, but a lot of the principles are going to work for any basic pencil skirt. And then I have some fun details inside the skirt. Alright, so I have the skirt on, but it's inside out. And I wanted to have fun pops of color that's a secret, except for with you guys, that all of my seams are dressed up and smooth and pretty. So this is what I am going to be adding that's not in the instructions. And I have a video with how to do a Hong Kong seam that I'll link down below in the description. But this is the inside. And let me show you what it looks like right side out. All right, so this is what it looks like on and right side out. It's a little bunchy because my microphone, but this is what it looks like. I'm so happy with this color. It's like a dark purple eggplant corduroy that has a little bit of stretch in it. And I was gonna show you a few ways that I was gonna style it, and I'll save that for the end of the video. Let's jump right into the tutorial. To begin, I'm just going to be taking out my pattern. I've already cut out the pieces because I've made this once before. But you're just gonna cut out your size and begin getting everything ready and cut out your pattern pieces. So this is the front. I'll make all my markings, and then I'll cut out my 2 pieces for the back in the main fabric. Make all the marks. After I'm done marking this, I'm going to bring out this satiny jacquard fabric, and I'm going to cut the facing. So there's a front facing and then 2 for the back. And I'll cut a bunch of bias strips for my Hong Kong finish. I have inner facing cut for the facing. And so now I have all of my pieces and I'm ready to start. And I'm going to be following along with the steps on here. So we're just going to get the darts and we're going to be working on the back. Here I'm starting the darts. So I'm just going to sew right off the end without backstitching and then tie a knot. That's just to keep the point of that dart as reduced in bulk as possible. And then we're going to press these toward the back. Do that on the other side, and then you're going to baste down to this notch and then stitch down the back of the skirt, pivot on this point and stop right about here. I didn't stitch all the way to the edge because I wanted to finish this open bit of fabric with a Hong Kong seam. So I just stitched to here and I'm leaving this part open. So I'm going to give this back seam a really good press open in preparation for the zipper. Right above this extension, I'm going to snip this to where I can lay the seam flat along the back, but keep them together on the extension. So we have that basted, and now we're going to line up our zipper. So I already prepped this zipper, and I'm just placing a mark of where I want the top of my zipper to stop, to take account for seam allowance and then a hook and eye. And this is my method for an invisible zipper. I just align it and pin it. Take some thread, and I'm going to baste the zipper tape to my seam allowance. Not going through the front of the fabric, just the seam allowance. And I'm going to do that down one side, across the bottom, and back up the other side. Then I'm going to take out my basting. And all of this work is worth it because you will get a perfect invisible zipper every time. Just doing those extra steps. Unzip the zipper. Pull the zipper. So you just pull that completely out of the way and the zipper stop is not going to interfere with stitching. So I'm putting on this invisible zipper foot onto my machine. It's so handy and I definitely recommend using this foot. Get it in place and get your thread through it. And then you're just going to stitch using the foot all the way along close to the teeth until you get down to about that basting point. Get close to it, back stitch a little bit, and do the same thing on the other side. You're just going to get as close as you can to that lower basting stitch right there. That's where your normal stitches start. On that center back seam. Now that that is sewn, stick the zipper pull through that opening and just pull right up, and you'll have a perfect invisible zipper. So I did Hong Kong seam finishing on that center back seam, and I'm going to post a video down in the description on how to do that. Just go along all the edges, and then for this one I just did a normal bias binding so that both sides were finished. And at that top portion I stitched all the way down on the outside, and this is what it looks like. So it's going to hold the extension in place, and when this flaps open you'll see a little bit of that bias binding, and where those two pieces connected I stitched them together to create one seamless spot. On the front side of the skirt you're going to put your darts in and iron them toward the center. And then we're going to put our side seams together. So first pin them on your match points so you get prepared for stitching. And stitch down the sides. I would definitely recommend stitching down the sides with a normal stitch and then treating the seams separately like this. That way you can adjust the fit. Here I did the Hong Kong seam finish, and then I did a catch stitch on the skirt to anchor this down to where it always stays in place. It doesn't flop around when it's washed or being worn. It's a couture technique that just really elevates the seam. For the facing, I chose a solid bias binding and just stitched that on that lower section. The whole thing is sewn together at this point, the two side seams, and it wraps around the top of the skirt. So you're going to pin that in place, matching the side seams and the center front, and it's going to come up to the back side, and you're just going to stop with the seam allowance. So here you can see where I stitched and where I stopped. And here I'm going to understitch that facing. This just holds it in place. So I'm going right by the seam onto the facing, understitching. All the way along the whole waist of the skirt. There it is. And we have this seam, and we have to deal with this seam if we want it to lay as nice as possible. So I'm going to be clipping the facing and notching it out, and I'm notching the fabric of the skirt as well, so it has a lot of flexibility. And do that along the whole top of the skirt, and then press and pin the side seams. So I'm just pressing that top seam, getting it nice set in place and matching the side seams. Because I'm going to tack the side seams down so they don't ever just want to pull up. Here I have folded over the facing and pinned it in place, and pinned right here on the side seams, matching the seam perfectly on center. And I'm going to hand stitch all of these spots. So the first place I'm going to hand stitch is just getting the facing tacked down on the center back on each side. And I'll add a hook and eye to the top of the facing. I attach the hook and eye in the way that is comfortable for me to hook it behind my back. So you can put it however makes sense to you. I have the eye on this side, and I'll do the same thing to this other side. When that's done, all I have left to do is the bottom of the skirt. So I'm going to be doing a Hong Kong seam finish on the bottom of the skirt. And that's what it looks like when it's done. And then I'm going to hem the skirt. So I'll measure out my hem and pin around the whole thing. This side, I'm going to be doing a mitered corner. And this is how you do it. So you're going to fold this over and press, fold this over and press, and then mark, you can mark a little X where your corner is, just like this. Then with right sides facing, you're going to fold through the center of that corner, both your straight sides touching to kind of create this triangle. So I'll pin that in place. Now I know where my corner is right here, and I'm going to sew perpendicular to the fold. So I'll go ahead and mark that, and we're going to stitch along that chalk line. Test the corner before you cut it. So this is laying nicely. I'm happy with that corner. So then I'll cut away my excess. You can open up the seam within there and press it flat to have the smoothest corner possible. So now I'll put everything where it needs to be and pin it. And here you just check and make sure everything is laying how you want it to. And you're going to hand sew for the prettiest hem. Nothing will be visible from the front. So you're just going to stitch with a catch stitch all the way on the inside, and then sew those two pieces together on that internal corner. And this is what the skirt looks like from the inside and the outside. Okay, so here's one way that I will style it in the winter with a hand knit sweater that I made and the skirt, so I'd be completely in Handmade, which would be super fun. But this is just all purple and moody, but comfortable and warm. Here's another way you could style it with a fun flowy blouse. This is a little bit more formal, but fun. This is probably one way that I would wear it most often, green and purple. I love the combination. I love the way that they go together. A merino sweater, corduroy, some boots, and a coat. Perfect. Love it. And then this is another way that I would style it if I want to notch up the femininity all the way. And maybe we're heading into spring. I could see myself wearing this to church. That's how I would style this skirt. All videos that I've made relevant to this video, such as the Hong Kong seams, how to make this blouse, the scallop neck of the white shirt that I was wearing earlier, I'm going to link all of those videos down below this video. If you have any questions, ask in the comments and I'll answer. And if you liked this video, you can click the thumbs up, subscribe, and click the bell notification to be notified anytime that I post a new video. Until next time, go get creative and make a pencil skirt that you love.